Kizamde! Hop on the beat!
Across Araki's over 40 years of making manga, he has had a variety of assistants. These are people that help Araki with backgrounds and other procedural things that come with creating a finished manuscript. So in this video, I'd like to just go over each one we know about and show the work they've done over the years and whatever little stories they might have about their time with Araki. One of Araki's oldest known assistants is Yasuhiro Makino, who worked with him on Cool Shock BT, one of his works from before JoJo began. He's produced a large number of original works, most of which seem to be ecchi manga. His art style is pretty different from what you'd expect, but it does seem fitting considering he worked on BT, which also stands out compared to Araki's other works. The next assistant on the list is Hirohisa Onikubo. He worked with Araki during parts 2 and 3 of JoJo. Before this, he was actually the chief assistant of Tetsuo Hara during Fist of the North Star's publication. As an example of the kind of work he did, the background from this page early on in part 3 was actually drawn by him. Onikubo was the illustrator for the motorcycle racing manga GP Boy, which actually made a cameo in part 4 where a volume of it is seen falling out of Hazamada's locker. He later went on to collaborate with Araki on the manga The Lives of Eccentrics. This was an anthology story covering unique people from throughout history, such as Nikola Tesla and the Collier brothers. The most well-known chapters here are probably the two drawn by Araki, the ones covering Sarah Winchester and Typhoid Mary. However, the majority of the chapters were actually illustrated by Onikubo, with Araki providing the story. More recently, Onikubo has worked on the JoJo anime adaptation. He's known to have contributed many of the recognizable stand-catch images that appeared in the anime. Next is Reki Taki. He and Onikubo work as partners, and many of their illustrations are actually collaboration pieces. Like Onikubo, he worked with Araki during parts 2 and 3. Some of his backgrounds can be seen here, with the volcano from the end of part 2, as well as the boat from earlier on. He also worked on the anime adaptation from parts 3 to 6 and even the Rohan OVA. He worked on some of the stand catches alongside Onikubo and some memorable shots like this one image of the world. He's also notable for having worked on a lot of Pink Dark Boys appearances in the Part 4 anime. He also worked on a lot of promotional images like these ones advertising the JoJo escape room attractions. He also drew for many of the anime's credit sequences such as Last Train Home, I Want You, and Modern Crusaders. My favorite thing about Reki Taki is that he's very active on Twitter and actually makes a ton of JoJo fan art. Some of the highlights for me are Abakio with the real-life F1 driver Ayrton Senna. He has some rare fan art for the Diamond is Unbreakable live-action movie in a more realistic style. He also has some more specific ones like this one with Kira's co-worker. If you don't know why, he's a bit of a meme among Japanese fans because of how much specific knowledge he happened to know about Kira. In this picture, the Part 5 gang uses Moody Blues to create him, and he lists a ton of information about Diavolo. As a big Rohan TV drama fan, I also wouldn't want to leave out this rare fan art of the character Jugo Shishi, who appeared in its second episode, Kushagara. And my favorite would probably be this one of Gwess and Rat Jolene. Next is Koji Kitahara, who worked on the second half of Part 3 and the first half of Part 4. He's also credited as an assistant on the JoJo 6251 art book. According to stories he's relayed on Twitter, Araki was very kind to him and he wasn't scolded after making mistakes. He says that he ended up spilling orange juice and correction fluid on his manuscripts and also accidentally destroyed Araki's mug, but was forgiven by him each time. Despite working on JoJo for a long time, he didn't keep up with the series afterwards and doesn't even know how Part 4 ended. He did say, however, that he considers it a great manga. For Christmas of 1993, he was gifted this illustration of Yukiko and Koichi by Araki. More recently, Kitahara has stepped away from making manga, instead creating standalone illustrations. Next we have Masato Naka, who also worked with Araki during parts 3 and 4. Not much is known about what he drew for the manga. He's a manga artist, but it's pretty hard to find a lot of his work online. One story we do know for sure is that around 2007 he asked Araki for an autograph to give to his friend with a heart condition whose favorite character was Prosciutto. Araki was surprised that he wanted a picture of a villain and created this illustration of Prosciutto with Grateful Dead. Next is Kei Sanbe, who is one of Araki's chief assistants from Part 3 through to Part 5, although he very first joined Araki's company around the time of Part 2. One example of his work on the manga is this drawing of the submarine from halfway through Part 3. Eventually, he left to pursue his own career as a manga artist. Most famously, he created the mystery series Erased, which went on to be a big success and has since been adapted into an anime. For the release of Volume 4 of the Diamond is Unbreakable Omnibus in 2016, he contributed this art of Yukiko. Then we have Wataru Watanabe, who briefly worked with Araki for a month during Part 5. He said that one of his jobs was to draw the polka dot pattern on Bucciarati's suit. It seems like he went on to be quite successful, with his most well-known manga being Yawamushi Pedal, which is about bicycle racing. Next is Tsuyoshi Nakamura, who worked with Araki during Part 6 and the early stages of Part 7. His own style seems to be super detailed, which is a bit ironic considering he wasn't working on Steel Ball Run after its art style became more refined. Then we have Satoshi Kurusu, who worked during Part 6 and early Part 7. He became Araki's assistant after answering an ad in Weekly Shonen Jump. He says that he mostly worked on drawing backgrounds and the clothing designs of characters. He also brought Araki meals and managed art supplies. He said that his favorite fight to work on was Heavy Weather, where the assistants had to draw massive amounts of snails without even knowing the context. On his Twitter, he has published a few short webcomics about his time working with Araki. There's been 3 of these so far, with the most recent being posted in June of 2023. I can't provide a full translation of these, but here's the gist of each. The first one describes Kurusu's early days working for Araki and depicts him as an intimidating, shadowy figure. He asks Kurusu to go buy him some Perrier, something that has appeared in JoJo before as Trish's favorite drink. I'm guessing this was taken from Araki's personal taste. Kurusu buys the Perrier, believing it's going to be used as reference material for the manga, and is surprised when Araki drinks it, in a parody of the scene of Giorno drinking tea. The second comic shows a time during the 2002 World Cup, which was being hosted in Korea and Japan. However, due to JoJo's weekly serialization, the team was too busy to watch the games. But in the end, Araki gives them the time off to go watch it. This last one is a little hard to understand, but it seems like Kurusu was told to draw something by Araki but couldn't figure out what he was talking about. He eventually realizes that it's a placemat at a dinner table. Next is Hideo Shinkai, who worked with Araki during Steel Ball Run for about 5 years. We don't know very much about his time there, but he's gone on to publish multiple stories in Shonen Jump. We also have Yasuki Tanaka, who similarly worked on Steel Ball Run. Once again, we know very little of his time with Araki, but he's gone on to make the fairly popular series Summertime Rendering, which has gotten an anime and video game adaptation. Hiroshi Shiibashi is yet another Part 7 era assistant. He's a good friend of Tanaka, and the two often have crossovers in their work. His most well-known series is Nura Rise of the Yokai Clan, which has since been adapted into an anime. His current series is called Iwamoto Senpai's Recommendation and is running an Ultra Jump alongside the JoJo lands. He is featured in the 25 Years with JoJo booklet, where various manga artists drew JoJo characters. He submitted this image of Gyro. Since then, he also participated in the Dragon Ball Super Gallery, where artists redrew Dragon Ball volume covers. Araki did this as well, drawing Gohan and Cell from volume 33. Shiibashi redrew this cover from volume 6. The final assistant I'll be talking about today is Kunihiro Watanabe, also known by his artist name Jodai. He's the most recent of Araki's assistants that we know of, working with him from 2010 to 2018. He joined near the end of Steel Ball Run and was present for the majority of JoJolian's run. He is undoubtedly the assistant whose work we know the most about, since he actually included his name in the background of tons of pages. Here near the end of Steel Ball Run we can see Jodai written on this sign. Then it appears all over on places like books and album covers. He's also shown to have worked on a variety of Thus Spoke Ushibe Rohan chapters. In Harvest Moon, his name is seen on this box. In Rainy Monday, it's found on a magazine and in the Fat Man's book. In DNA, it's found on a sign near the beginning, and in The Run, it's seen inside Yoma's book. Since then, he's done freelance work as an artist. He's said that he didn't enjoy his time as an assistant since it required constantly drawing and redrawing panels. That's all of Araki's assistants that we know about. I think it was nice to take a look at these important but often forgotten figures in JoJo history, and looking at them gives us a great new perspective on the creation of JoJo, as well as some interesting stories about Araki himself. This isn't even close to the amount of assistants Araki has really had, and there is undoubtedly a lot more we just don't know about. Based on what I've seen so far, I'm very interested in knowing when we'll learn about another who went on to do something new. If you want to be updated on new videos, join the Hum and Beat Discord using the link in the description. You can also support the channel on Patreon to receive Discord perks and the opportunity to submit questions. This video's question comes from Rex. He asks, what are my thoughts on what Viz Media has done with JoJo as a whole? Well, overall, I'm okay with it. I'll try to keep this brief since I actually want to make a video on this topic in the future. First of all, I get to own almost the entire manga in hardcover form, which is better than what I can say for most series. I do, however, have issue with a lot of the content of the books. When it comes to the original JoJonium re-releases, I like them well enough. I like Araki's modern illustrations for the covers, although I do wish there was a way to have the classic covers that I think best represent those stories. My main issue, however, comes with the release starting with Part 4. I take huge issue with the way they approach the chapter titles. In most good scanlations of a manga, people will remake the Japanese text and, where necessary, edit the artwork to make it appear seamlessly. This can be seen in a lot of the official non-English releases of JoJo. Our releases instead choose to plaster a giant black box on top of the art to show the title. These just look really bad and I don't think it works at all. That's all I'll say for now, since I have some more I could get into at a later date. If you want to submit a question, you can join the Patreon at any tier and submit as many questions as you like. I'd like to answer at least one question per video, so I hope you'll ask whatever you want. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons. Thank you to Alex Ramirez, Doorbell, Crayon, Rigovids, Zucato, Pumpkin Doge, Marrow, Almighty Quarth, Cowrie, Gatlin Grove, Lime Jinjo, 17 Hit Combo, Sponge Cake, Cakext, Feliciano Rabaja, Rayana Meme, Christian McDonough, Navi, Emmanuel Etienne, Pulse Dog, Great Riek, and D.